Hello friends, and welcome to another video. Today's video is something that I've been aiming for since the beginning of this year, and we finally made it. I started reading Harry Potter, I think it was on the 3rd of January, and in my head I could get through the entire series within a month, but I only got through 4 books. Order of the Phoenix took me all of February, and then this month I've decided I'm just gonna finish it up, which I'll say I think it's fair that it took me that long because they get progressively longer, so it makes sense that it would take me longer to read them. Anyways, today's video we're going to be wrapping up the Deathly Hallows. I will say I did already read some of it. I kind of forgot that I wanted to do this video, so I did start reading it in my reading vlog that I posted earlier this week. I didn't really talk about anything because I didn't want to spoil it, but this video will be full spoiler. I'll talk about whatever I want. I wish I had been recording this whole time because there are times where I've had a lot to say and I felt like I couldn't say it in that video. And little did I know it was in my plan all along, and we still have the last half of the book to talk about. And I will also probably talk about things that have been sticking with me for the first half. However, now is not the time. I need to leave for work, like right now, but I figured I need to start this video so I can at least have something to go off of, so I have the motivation to keep going with this video. So I'll probably come to you guys later tonight and tell you anything that I've thought up until now, where I'm at, all that. Work time. Let's catch up on this book, because I did already read half of it before I even started this video because I forgot I was going to record this video, but I still want to follow through because otherwise I don't have anything planned. We're very professional on this channel. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows is the 7th book in the series. Before I say anything else, I want to say obviously I do not support anything that the author is doing. Yes, there are some bad ideas going around. Yes, she promotes some really bad things, but I think the story itself has evolved into something more than the author. So I don't support anything that she says or does, but that doesn't take away from the fact that this is just a really well-crafted world. The whole support the art, not the artist thing. And also I feel kind of silly reading this because I know it's kind of a big like millennial thing to really be into the Harry Potter books and to make it your whole personality, like what house are you and all that. But it's also just a fun time, just revisiting something that I read in middle school. It's fine. We're enjoying. We're having a good time. I didn't even realize my bookmark is here, but I have been reading the last 3 books mostly on my computer because if you look it up, you can find all of the Harry Potter books online for free. Little life hack for you if you don't want to give any money to So I've been using my computer because if you're just mindlessly scrolling, you get through it really, really quickly. I didn't realize it, but I'm actually on page 463, so I am over halfway. And a lot's happened, and I feel kind of bad that it's not in the video, but we're gonna move past it because there's nothing I can do now unless I reread the entire first part of the book, which I did consider doing, but that does not seem realistic or helpful, and I don't think it would really add anything to the video. It just kind of seems like torture, so we're gonna skip that. But let's catch up a little bit on what's happening in the plot. In the last book, you find out that Snape is super evil. He's with the bad guys now. He killed Dumbledore. This is full spoilers. I am so sorry. If you didn't hear that the first time, you know now. I feel really silly talking about anything with this book because of the whole generation thing, but it's just a book. It's fine. Everything's fine. This book fully skips Hogwarts, just entirely. It does not go to the school because their government and everything ruling everything is corrupt and being taken over. Things are not going well. So Harry and his friends are on the run because he is being hunted down. So, you know. Harry was given one final task by Dumbledore, and that was to go find the 7 pieces of Voldemort's soul that are hidden somewhere. He doesn't know what they are, he doesn't know where they are, he doesn't really know how to defeat them. So it's a very aimless task, but if it's the last thing somebody says to you before they die, you kind of have to follow through. This book really gets right into the action within the first 70 pages. Harry's trying to leave the house, and they have this whole big plan so that he doesn't die the second he goes outside of it. But the Death Eaters were ready, and immediately they start firing. George loses an ear, and Harry loses his owl. When I was thinking about this book, I really thought that happened way later because that's such a big thing to happen in the story. Gonna kill off the whole owl, but yeah, first 100 pages and that's already out of the way. And then it's just a whole lot of Harry and his friends jumping around and trying to figure out where everything is hidden and what it all means. Dumbledore gave them some gifts and they don't know what the purpose is. Just a lot of searching, a lot of running. One thing I really like about this series is that it's not repetitive. You would think that going to the same school for 7 years, each of these books starts off at the same house and then you go to the train station, then you get on the train, you have the sorting hat, you have the whole thing, and it's the same exact structure every single time, but it's never repetitive in these books because it always knows when to skip a certain part. So the first time you get to experience it all so that you know what's happening, and then in another book they miss the train, or they miss the sorting hat, or they're not allowed. There's just different things each time. So it doesn't feel repetitive, it doesn't feel like you're reliving that same school year every single time, but it also doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel like it's just skipping over that. There's always plot that explains why it's not happening. I don't want to say it because I feel like I'm going to say all the things wrong. They're finding the Horcruxes? I don't know. I have a hard time with these things. They visit the house that Harry's parents died in. They get tricked, they almost die. They go somewhere else, they get tricked, they almost die. It's a lot of running around and searching and failing. Then you get introduced to the Deathly Hallows, which Luna's dad is talking about, and they don't take anything he says seriously. But as the reader, you know it's important because it's the title of the book, so clearly it's gonna go somewhere. And then he betrays them, and then they almost die, and then they have to escape, and it's the whole thing again. Ron abandons them for a little bit, but then he comes back to save Harry's life. Ron shows them a radio show that's being hosted by their friends, and it's so sweet, and I love how all the characters tie into the story. And then where I'm at right now, Harry said Voldemort, which is a word you're not supposed to say because they have it, so that if you say it, they know where you are and they assume that you're somebody who's rebelling against the government because only people who are rebelling would say his name. So they come and they catch him and they realize it's Harry and they're gonna kill him. I have maybe 300 pages left. It's probably just gonna be a lot of time lapses and then me jumping in to complain about something that happened. Maybe this video is just motivation so I can actually get done with this book and move on from the series. Either way, you have no choice. You're coming along with me. I'll talk to you if anything happens. Hello friends, happy Friday. And also happy St. Patrick's Day. It is 5 p.m, I just got off of work. I'm here to read. Someday I'll get out of this corner, but we're still here. I have not read anything since I updated you, I think last night, but I'm off for the weekend, so I'm gonna power through. Today's the day. I don't know that I'll finish, but we're gonna make significant progress. With all of these books, but especially this one, I'm just thinking about how it would translate to a movie. Because I'm pretty sure this book is split into 2 movies, right? Like it's 8 movies total. They just got captured, they're being tortured. Even just reading about them being tortured is unpleasant, so I'm just imagining how that would be in a movie. I don't know how graphic the movies would be and if they'd really want to go into that or if they'd kind of try to keep it from getting too dark. But if it was performed in the same way that is playing out in my head, that would be such a bad time. Such a bad thing to watch, but in a good way. I think that makes sense. I don't know. It's hard to picture because I typically see all characters the same age. I never really see them as older or younger. Whenever I'm reading books, I always picture the characters as being like 15 to 25. So it's really hard for me to visualize that this character started off as being 11 years old and is now late teens. I just can't visualize that change. So I feel like it would help me to see the movies and to see the actual people growing up because they grew up while they were filming the movies. Because that is something that makes these books so special. The fact that he is in high school or middle school, whatever. So you relate to his feelings just as a person because of the age that he is. But you also have to consider how that affects everything else that's going on in this world. I think as the books go along, the descriptions get so much more beautiful, specifically descriptions of Harry's grief. I feel like this wasn't really happening as much in the earlier books, which is probably because he's getting older. And also because his life has gotten significantly more tragic as the books went on. As he did so, he gazed down at the tiny body, and his scar prickled and burned, and in one part of his mind, viewed as if from the wrong end of a long telescope, he saw Voldemort punishing those that they had left behind at the Malfoy Manor. His rage was dreadful, and yet Harry's grief for Dobby seemed to diminish it, so that it became a distant storm that reached Harry from across a vast silent ocean. He dug with a kind of fury, relishing the manual work, glorying in the non-magic of it, for every drop of his sweat and every blister felt like a gift to the elf who had saved their lives. His scar burned, but he was a master of the pain. He felt it, yet he was apart from it. Like, that is for sure not how you would describe the thinking of an 11-year-old, but with everything he's gone through and just the fact that he grew up, it makes sense in this book. Lupin's a dad. I hate this book for providing so many little good moments between all the bad. For just a little bit, you feel like things could be okay. There's something I've recently remembered that happens. An ear is not the worst thing that they lose. Not ready for that. I think that's the only other major death that happens in this book. I could be wrong. There could be something that completely comes out of nowhere, because I remember that Sirius died. Actually, that's it. Kaelin spoiled that Dumbledore died. I forgot that Dobby died. I knew Goblet of Fire. I knew there was a death at the end of that. But like I was saying in my earlier reading vlogs, I forgot the last 3 books. I don't really know anything that happens besides certain deaths. It was really Sirius and then one of the twins in this book, I think. I don't know. Okay, It's midnight. I made it to page 582, but I think I'm done for the night. I think I'm gonna stop there, purely because I haven't really been watching YouTube all week, and I like to stay caught up on the people that I'm subscribed to, so I have some work to do. And then who knows, maybe tomorrow is the day that I finish. Also, yes, I know it's criminal to have this many tabs, but this is the life I live. It's currently 6:38 p.m. on Saturday, March 18th, and I think we could finish this book today. I got up to page 607 and then I stopped because I feel like there's a lot I'm gonna want to record for. Percy showed up, and he said he wants to be on their side again, and that made me so sad. He's just some guy, he just wants to do good, he just wants approval from people. Obviously you shouldn't betray your family in the way that he did, just in general, you shouldn't do that. But he came back when it matters, and that's so special. And again, I love how nobody's forgotten. Like, you could easily write off Percy as just being somebody who's over there, but they found a way to incorporate him back into the story. Same thing for Dobby, you could write him off as just being another thing at the school. Every character that is mentioned, regardless of if they were important before, has some ending. It's not... Nobody is left out, nobody is forgotten. Each time an old character is brought up, you just remember what they've done in the series. And it feels so special that they're here again. I don't even know what to record because every other page is giving me full body chills, because there's just so much that ties in that you heard about a book or two ago that felt like it didn't matter, and now it's coming back in. But I know that something really bad is about to happen, so... That sucks. I knew it was gonna come because that's like the last death that I remember in this book. I think I may have flipped ahead and spoiled another death that is coming that I completely forgot about. But this one's probably the worst one of the series. See, this is the one I thought I maybe spoiled for myself. Completely forgot about Snape. It's hard to feel bad for him because still this far into the books, he's just a bad guy who liked being mean to them. And yes, he was bullied in his childhood, but obviously that doesn't make it okay to do any of the things that he did throughout all of the books. But I'm pretty sure when people talk about him, they still like him as a character because he was in love with Lily. I'm pretty sure that's the thing. I don't know, there's only 100 pages left, but it hasn't said that yet, so I don't care too much. I don't care anywhere near as much as I did with Fred. But I do still feel bad because everybody that dies is just people who wanted to do good, people who wanted approval, and they just took the wrong path to get there. I love how everything makes sense, but I don't immediately think of it. Like, they established that you have to take the wand from the last owner, and normally they kill. And yes, Snape did kill Dumbledore, but nowhere did I make the connection that that means he is the owner of the wand. But when they bring it up now, obviously that is exactly what happens, and so it makes sense, but it's still not something that I saw coming. I got to page 690. That whole chapter is basically Snape's redemption, learning why he did the things that he did and why he maybe wasn't so bad for it. I still think the way he treated students was not acceptable, and then the whole reason that he cut off George's ear, or he betrayed them, or he killed Dumbledore, and all of that is all planned. He's acting on Dumbledore's orders in the same way that Harry is. Nobody can talk about their missions, everybody's just trying to do this thing, and it's all part of some bigger plan. But his general treatment of students was still not very good, so like there's no excuse for just being a bad teacher. And then you find out that he was also tasked with giving them the sword. He was the one who sent out the dough because that's Lily's. I think it's kind of strange to have such a big part of the ending of the series be Snape's redemption. because there's so little and you're only just hearing about it, but I guess it's kind of like that last twist type of thing where you realize this bad guy who you've hated the whole time is really not as bad as he seems. And also because the book mentions the parallels between Voldemort, Snape, and Harry, so you have Voldemort who chose evil and who just wanted to use everything that he had to his advantage. You have Snape who was treated terribly and in turn treated other people terribly, but at the end of the day his morals stayed intact. And then you have Harry who tries his best to do good. All of them grew up a little bit unwanted and found a home within Hogwarts, but they all handle it in very different ways. I don't hate it, I just don't think he's the greatest person because he would still do bad things that aren't explained and aren't justified. But it is very sad that he killed Dumbledore on Dumbledore's orders, and that he did all of this while everybody thought that he betrayed them, and in the end, they're all working towards the same goal. It was not, after all, so easy to die. Every second he breathed, the smell of the grass, the cool air on his face, was so precious. To think that people had years and years, time to waste, so much time it dragged, and he was clinging to each second. At the same time, he thought that he would not be able to go on, and knew that he must. The long game was ended, the snitch had been caught, it was time to leave the air. This is terrible. This is a terrible ending. I'm not saying that in a bad way, it's just... This is so sad. He used the resurrection stone, he gets to talk to his parents, and he gets to talk to Sirius again. This is a crime. He lay face down, listening to the silence. He was perfectly alone. Nobody was watching. Nobody else was there. He was not perfectly sure that he was there himself. A long time later, or maybe no time at all, it came to him that he must exist, must be more than disembodied thought, because he was lying, definitely lying, on some surface. Therefore he had a sense of touch, and the thing against which he lay existed too. Almost as soon as he had reached this conclusion, Harry became conscious that he was naked. Convinced as he was of his total solitude, this did not concern him, but it did intrigue him slightly. He wondered whether, as he could feel, he would be able to see. In opening them, he discovered that he had eyes. I guess in the same way that you get Snape's redemption, you also get a little bit of Dumbledore redemption, because a lot of this book is Harry doubting if this whole goal and this person that he's trusted this whole time is actually somebody to trust. But this chapter, King's Cross, is all just Dumbledore explaining why he did the things that he did, and how he's also just another flawed person. Which is really a big thing about every single character in this book, all the people that Harry looks up to. He thinks that they can all do no wrong, and then it gets revealed that they're bad people, and you have to remember that it's not that they're bad people, it's just that they do bad things. He can still look up to them and he can still appreciate what they did, but that doesn't mean that they're only gonna do good things. But I like that there's no clear good or bad people. There are just people who are doing things, and sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. This book is painful to read. There's so much that goes on in these last 100 pages, but I have less than 50 pages left, so final stretch. I gotta be honest, he's explaining how the wand got transferred. I am not following. Who's the owner of this wand? We were good up until here, but now I'm just confused. The Elder Wand recognized the new master before Dumbledore died, someone who never even laid a hand on it. When? What is that referring to? What am I missing? I've had enough trouble for a lifetime. 19 years time skip. And the thing is, I read, what's the play? The one that people don't like. I have that. It's sitting out in the hall because I was gonna get rid of it. The Cursed Child, is that what it is? But it's about his son. I don't know. All I know is that the whole time I was reading this, I was thinking, these characters can't die because I know they're in this one, which is set however many years in the future, which I guess that book or play or whatever it is based off of this 19 years later thing, because they wanted to build off of this little peek into the future. 5 of them. I feel like that's weird, to name all 3 of your children after your parents or people that you looked up to. I guess there's nothing wrong with it, but it's just that whole thing of like not being able to name your kids something if that was the mean person at school because you'll always think of them. I feel like it just puts a lot of pressure on your kids to be like your parents, which is just a weird dynamic. Not only did you name your kids after both of your parents, which also is odd that you're naming them after your parents and have nothing to do with the Weasleys, but sure, that's okay. Then have your other kid named after Dumbledore and also Snape. This is not very creative at all, is it? You were named for 2 headmasters of Hogwarts. One of them was a Slytherin, and he was probably the bravest man I ever knew. Where is that coming from? You had one series of memories from him, and somehow that captures the entirety of every man he's known and makes him one of the bravest. I guess so, but I still feel like that's a lot of pressure to put on your child. The scar had not pained Harry for 19 years. All was well. It is 9:15 p.m. and I have finished my reread of Harry Potter. And I think I'm gonna have to give this book 5 stars. I definitely think the epilogue was a little bit cheesy. I don't think it really needed to be there. Yes, it was cute to see that Neville is a teacher, but it's kind of dumb to name all of your kids after these people that you look up to, especially when you hated one of them for all 7 years and then out of nowhere he's your child. That's a bit of an exaggeration. I do think he wasn't the worst guy. I just think it's weird to name all of your I put my hair like this so there's not a giant shadow across my face. We're just gonna pretend that this is okay. Genuinely, this book wraps everything up so well. There are 6 entire books before this where you have an entire world, and it starts off with just the school, and then it slowly expands and you meet so many characters and you go so many places, and I think this book touches on everything that you interact with. There's nobody that's forgotten, there are no conversations that are left open. Even the characters that you feel like aren't that important come around in some way. There are things that are mentioned in like the first book that come up in this. I just really appreciate the attention to detail that went into making this book. This world has so much depth, and it makes sense to me why this story lives on the way it does. Again, do not support the author. I don't like the things that she says, but I do think that the story has evolved into so much more. It has really become its own thing, and it was so much fun to get to reintroduce myself to these characters. This book took me exactly 1 week to get through. I think I have to give it 5 stars. Everything besides the epilogue was so good. I don't even know if I have anything else to say for this video. It really frustrates me that you don't get to see George's reaction to Fred dying, which I guess is fair because it's really not possible to describe that level of grief, so maybe it's for the best that they skip it. But I think that's all I have to say for this video. I had a really fun time rereading this series, and I'm genuinely gonna miss these characters. I did tell Kaylin that once I finished reading the series, we could watch the movies, so that'll be a whole other beast. I thought it'd be kind of fun to do videos where I also talk about my experience while watching the movies, but I don't know if I'm actually gonna do that, but that's all I have to say for now. So if you like this video and you want to see more of my face, you can subscribe to this channel, or my main channel, Riverbxnd, where I post music content. Also, my Instagram, Spotify, Goodreads, and Storygraph will all be linked in the description for you. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and thank you for following me these past 3 months as I went through the absolute journey that is this series. I'm gonna go try to emotionally recover. I will see you guys very soon with another video. Bye.